We're in the heart of Sandton City, the concrete jungle of Johannesburg, and yet what we're about to experience is life truly lived in Technicolor.
In today's episode of Finest Homes, we visit a contemporary Johannesburg North property where art has truly taken centre stage. The design team from kimh.nieu will take us through this eclectic multi-level home, and we'll meet with an art curator, Monique House, who assisted the homeowners in building their ever-growing collection. If an eclectic design scheme sparks your interest, then stay tuned as we decipher this exciting style for you.
Wow, Erat, it's amazing how the art just welcomes you in. I've definitely just walked into an art lover's home, but what was your involvement in this project?
Well, thank you, Tanvila. Well, I was the interior designer who was privileged enough to actually help create this beautiful space. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime space that I managed to work on. I'm very proud of it.
I would be too if I were you. What was the client's brief when you first started?
Well, originally they came to us because we did the previous owner's home, and they saw that when they bought the home. So they contacted us and asked us to please just paint and furnish out the home. But what turned out as a simple furnishing project actually ended up being a full renovation and turned into this beautiful space.
Well, the exterior from entry is beautiful, but it's a really great surprise to come in and see so much space and light right at the entry.
Absolutely. The house was designed to be a bit of a surprise factor when you walk through the front door. And it seems deceivingly small, but we've got multiple levels that actually helped us to fit a massive house onto what is a smaller stand. And when we go downstairs, you'll see there's quite a surprise of an open living area downstairs.
Well, wait no more. I can't wait to see it. Shall we hit it?
Absolutely.
In a house that could easily be cold and clinical due to the contemporary architecture, there is a sense of warmth brought forward by the wooden floors and vibrant colours that greet you as you make your way through the house.
Right, so it looks like every single art piece has been perfectly situated, but I'd love to know how the layout has been influenced by the artwork in the kitchen area.
Well, in the kitchen area specifically, it was influenced. This beautiful Norman Catherine piece was a piece the client had before they moved in. And we were briefed to specifically allow a space for it. So we had to adjust when we designed the kitchen, the height, so that they would fit in perfectly, and they'd be the first thing you see as you walk in.
I'll tell you what else works perfectly, is the integration of the cupboards.
Absolutely, because we had to have a fully integrated space that brought the living room into the kitchen, and we didn't have that much space in this part of the house. We had to integrate cupboards on all sides of the room. So what seems to be a kitchen on this side is actually a 360-degree kitchen, with integrated fridges, cupboards, everything else just fitting into its place perfectly.
Well, the first thing that you notice when you walk in here are the sleek, strong lines, and yet I notice you've also played with a few other textures.
A key integral part of creating an eclectic contemporary space is to actually layer it, and the best way to do that is through textures. Now, I love to design with texture, and in this home we had the opportunity to play with so many different types of textures. From solid timber floors running all the way through from the lounge to the kitchen, stone walls, to even the odd wallpaper on the ceiling, just to warm up the space and really tie it all together.
Well, what you've done exceptionally well is integrate these two spaces.
Thank you. The house was designed for a large family who love to socialize together. So it was really important to take the key spaces one would entertain and actually link them all together. So we've got this fantastic flow running from the kitchen through to the dining room, to the lounge, to the outside patio. And we're almost stepping it down in tiers so that we never ever obscure the outside of the beautiful art in the garden, and just draws you out that way.
This truly is a home that caters for a large and social family. The generous outdoor entertainment area is effortlessly integrated with nature, all the while complemented by structural cycads and sculptural artworks.
Gerard, it's really hard not to notice the stark contrast between the dark, moody kitchen and this light, elegant family space. Tell me how you married these elements together.
we were talking about texture earlier and how things kind of layer into the space. And because art is such an integral part of this space, the client always wanted to put this Lionel Schmidt head behind us, and it had to be visible. So we started grading the space from darker, bolder colors all the way through to your lighter tones as you move outside, which is where most of your natural light is, so that it's kind of a seamless transition from the dark to the light.
Well, Gerard, this really feels like the epitome of indoor and outdoor living, and I love how you've used furniture to accommodate this.
Oh, thank you. We actually sourced this from Italy. It's a wonderful sofa, and it wouldn't be what you usually would do in a space that integrates with inside-outside, because it almost creates a closed conversation pit, which was part of the idea, the duality of the space, because these wonderful little backrests can actually move and swivel around, so you can end up sitting on both sides of the sofa, integrating with the outside and with the inside at the same time.
And I assume to successfully achieve this, you used a lot of glass along the walls, but where there is wall, really the use of paint really complements the artworks.
Yes, like I said, art was a central part of the brief and the home and the client's lifestyle. And we had to find a way of actually emphasizing that while blending it in at the same time. So we chose the opposite color to what you usually see in a gallery, which is all white. We opted for a dark charcoal because it actually kind of just fades in and creates this infinity feel, putting the focus on the art on every single wall. We also couldn't put too much color in on the walls because all the art, as you can see, is very colorful. So we had to keep it natural, yet complementing to what is the main focus in this home.
After the break, we speak to art curator Monique House about the process of selecting and collecting art for the home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're visiting a house where the owner's love of art has had a defining impact on the interior design. Before the break, kimh.nieu shared their design approach in creating this eclectic contemporary home. Now I'm chatting to Monique House of Everard Reed Gallery about her role as an art curator.
Monique, the art curation in this home is absolutely exceptional. But let's be honest, this wouldn't come too naturally for most homeowners. So what role do you play in achieving a look like this?
Well, this was quite an interesting project to be able to work on with the client. They first saw this home, who belonged to other clients of ours, and fell in love with the design and the art that was in it. And I think that really started a journey for them in finding beautiful pieces to put in their home that they could connect with. And I received a call from them and saying, we absolutely love this piece. How do we find this artist's work? How do we get to know them? And that really started the journey a couple of years ago in finding really significant and key pieces. And so the journey started, and we invited them through to the gallery to come through, have a look at some of the artworks that we had on display, the exhibitions that we were running. In some cases, we invited them through for previews to get top of the list and beautiful, beautiful pieces ahead of time. And slowly started developing a language and finding out what they loved, which pieces they connected with, which artists they connected with. And so started it from there and slowly took it step by step and built the collection.
That sounds like a beautiful journey. Now, for someone who's starting out, which would you suggest, that you go for something that you love versus something that will last the test of time?
Well, I think for any collector starting out, we would want you to love the piece that you're going to have in your home. I think for some people are really driven by a name or understanding that this might be a massive investment piece. None of us really know what's going to happen, but if you love a piece, every time you walk into that space, it will lighten your mood and lift your spirit. And it was something quite enjoyable about working with this client in this collection, is every piece has a significance. Every piece, there is a story or there's a memory that tracks back with them. And it was a delight for me to be able to be a part of that and help build that collection with them.
Well, you have to be absolutely blind not to find a favorite in this home, but are there any artworks that stand out for you?
I think it's always a tough question to ask a curator. We get to work with so many different artists on a daily basis, but some of the key works within this collection, which I've been really excited to be able to place, are pieces by Brett Murray, like Bart and Marge in Africa, some of Blessing's works, which are actually behind me, Lionel Smith's beautiful works, which actually help you move in and out of the home, so they are in spaces between courtyards, from front doors. Angus Taylor's two welcoming pieces. I think I could probably have a very long list of favorites within this home, but ultimately it's not about me, it's about the homeowner and what do they love and what pieces do they connect with. And I think if you walk around in this space, you'll definitely see there's a quirkiness, there's a vibrancy, they're not scared to have challenging pieces, but at the same time, color and boldness is something that they've always gone for within the works. Right the way from the Urbanski, as you walk in the front door, every room has a different mood and a different vibe as you come in, and really embraces the art within that collection.
Absolutely. What comes to mind when you mention that is just eclectic, right? And with such a style, how would you advise you combine the different sort of styles and aesthetics to ensure that it all works?
Well, I think knowing what you like and what you enjoy is really the first step. Some of the works within this collection were not acquired through our gallery space, but knowing the client and working with them on a week-by-week basis, we really got to chat about which spaces they lived in most, which pieces should hang on which walls. In the early stages, before any of the fittings were in this home, we were kind of walking through just the concrete frame of it, and we identified key spots within the home to say, we need to put a beautiful piece up here, or there needs to be a really significant piece out in the garden space, or as you walk in, you need to have something that goes pop or just invites clients or friends or whoever's coming into your home into that space and say, this is who I am, this is my collection.
And describing the brief, what did the owner really emphasize that they really needed in their home?
Well, I think it changed over time. So the initial selection of pieces that they came through to look at were very clear in identifying, we love this work, can you help us source pieces by Lionel Smith? And so we started a journey of finding what was available. I introduced them to do studio visits with the artist to actually get to meet them, which is something we will do for our top collectors, is allow them to come in, see the artist either in the gallery or in the studio space, and help them feel part of the process. And so, although the initial stages they may have said they only wanted to collect this artist, by the end of it, their passion was so great that there is an unending list of works that I think that they would love to add to this collection. And certainly, each time they came through to the gallery or got to meet a different artist, they started building on that collection and buying or placing a new work for that collection.
And do you think this is a process or journey that any homeowner can go through, or is there a certain scale that fits this process?
Absolutely. It is a process that homeowners should embrace and welcome and engage. And we always invite them to come through and meet the team that I work with, come through to the gallery, start learning about the artists. We do walkabouts, we will hold private events. If you come through and start developing a feel for what works you like, it comes that much more naturally and that much easier for you to actually say, when you walk into a space, you get shown a portfolio or a catalogue, I love this, and why do I love it? Maybe you don't always know the answers, but certainly something attracts you to that piece, and so it will be a lot easier to make a decision once you have started the process of collecting and at least looking and being engaging with the artworks and with the artists.
In my eyes, this house has many breathtaking areas, but one where I could see myself spending most of my time is the spacious main bedroom, one with a view to die for. Joining me on the upstairs balcony, overlooking the Johannesburg skyline, is Tegan Kalassi of kimh.nieu.
My word, Tegan, I'm on my way to you and I'm about for your amazing flowers. Beautiful view. How are you? Beautiful, eh? Wow, Tegan, I know there's a plethora of artworks in the interior, but for me, the real masterpiece is this beautiful view.
No, it's undeniable that this view is probably one of the best parts of this house, and you can't not capitalize off what is currently behind us, definitely.
And what I love most is that you've really optimized this space, just sprawling from the main bedroom. And tell us how you maximized on this space.
So what we wanted to do is we have completely opened up the main bedroom. We wanted to have the main bedroom be outside to an extent. We wanted to have the flow from inside and out almost indistinguishable. So when you're lying in bed, you're watching the sunset, you're outside, you're hearing the birds. So we created big spanses that just could be opened up and let the light, let the air, and let the view in.
Look, there's a tight integration between what's happening in the exterior and the interior. What were some of the challenges you faced in sort of incorporating what's happening outside with inside?
I wouldn't call it a challenge. It was more a fun experience to play with. What we wanted to do is, because there was such a massive art on the inside, we wanted to have the outside pay homage to what is on the inside. So we brought the art outside, we brought the texture and the fun and the beauty of the interior space, and we brought it outside, but we didn't want to take away from the view, so we kept it natural, we kept it within the same tonal range.
Oh, and talk about some of the key elements in the exterior that really spoke to what happens in the interior.
So what we wanted to do is we wanted the inside of the house and the outside of the house to be a blurred line. So what we did is we took the color that we used inside, because often people would do a lighter color on the inside and a darker color on the outside, or vice versa. So we chose the same paint color just to follow it through. And then what we did do is on the balustrades and all the steel elements is we went 2 shades darker, just so we can define the architecture and actually make more of a focal point of it instead of trying to hide it.
And what's obviously the biggest focal point is the artwork. And I see that the incorporation of the sculptures really marries inside and outside together as well.
No, definitely. I mean, with such a beautiful space, I mean, you just fill it with more beautiful things.
Well, I have to say, Tegan, achieving a home like this is a true art. And I say cheers to you and your team for creating this beautiful masterpiece.
After the break, we take a closer look at the layering of a successful eclectic design scheme. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we visited a house that oozes colour, boasts multiple levels with eye-catching design and incredible art. From an interior design perspective, this would sit comfortably within an eclectic design scheme. To find out more about this fun and energetic theme, I'm chatting to interior designers Sam Alexander and Gemma Newton.
Right, guys, we're talking eclectic style.
An eclectic style to us is a juxtaposition of textures, it's contrasting colors, but it needs to be cohesive. It's a mix of styles that all comes together.
Yeah, and I think what's important is that not to overwhelm with too much. I think what's really imperative is to create it with a base tone and then to build it up, like Emma said, textures, patterning. I think that's really important.
It does feel like there needs to be some sort of structure, however, because without a plan, things could get a little bit out of hand.
No, definitely. I feel that if you're not starting off at a beginning point and knowing exactly what you're trying to achieve, then you're kind of going to mess it up. But what's important is to have fun. That's what makes eclectic such a wild style.
Absolutely. So we're talking structure. I'm going to bring it down to 3 steps. What would you say are our 3 steps?
I think that it's important to start with a base layer to sort of ground the look, and then
I think picking it up from there, we can really add some patterns, so some really bold, strong pattern. And as we selected in the look here, you can go with some geometrics. And I think that also something that really does help this is your color, but make sure that you have some complementary colors. So over here we've got this beautiful kind of like deep green, and then we have like a mustard color that really does complement the whole look again.
Yeah, so you don't want to be afraid to use contrasting colors because they can complement each other and bring it all together in one cohesive look.
And then texture. I think texture is absolutely important when it comes, well, at least for us, it's really important. So over here we've chosen some great stone, and then we've moved to a leather, and then when we speak about naturals, I mean, your naturals on your floor is amazing. Your natural on your countertop is also something that we love doing. You have some wood that could complement that also, and wood could then be in your shop fitting, it could be your countertops, it could be your floor also. It really just does depend on what you're trying to achieve in the space.
Now, with this being such a busy scheme, would you say this look is applicable to all rooms in the house?
So I think in a bedroom, it could be slightly overwhelming, so you'd have to be really selective as to how you achieve that. Again, what would be great is to start, as Emma said, to start with a base tone and then build that up. So you have your, for example, you have your leathers, and then build that up with some patterns as we've selected over here, and that will allow you to just accent that hint of eclecticism.
Well, I love what you've put together here for us. Can you talk us through the examples that you've put together?
So we've started with one of our kimh staples, which is pista butterscotch. We love it. We use it in a lot of our projects. It's a signature to us. This is also one of our favorite fabrics from Hertex that we really enjoy using. We have a mix of stones, different shades of wood, mahogany, extra dark, dark sand. We like to use those colors a lot. We feel that they're quite complex and you can use them across the board. So it can mix with a lot of different styles and different colors.
And then just to echo what Emma's saying, so then once you have all of those staples, build that up with lots of patterning, and I think that that lends itself to the eclectic vibe. So you've got this awesome fabric, and then again you've got a juxtaposition of this kind of patterning, and I think what really ties it together is that you pick up these different tones and these different colors, and really color is huge in the eclectic style. So not really muted, very, very busy, but then again starting with a base and building that up.
With so many patterns and textures, how do you ensure you still leave some space for your client's personal style?
So making sure that we concentrate on the brief, that's imperative, and that's something that we really do focus on here. But also just trying to find out what works for them. You know, some people have some pictures that they'd like to pop up. Let's say it's a vintage photograph, and I think that that would lend itself to using some vintage framing. Then you've got some like bric-a-brac, which you could bring into the space. So let's say like an odd lamp with a really interesting lampshade. Again, you can use some excellent fabrics on that, some patterning. But yeah, I think that's how one would really focus on the client.
And it's not always a one-stop route. You don't always get it the first time. You can show them something and then gauge from there if you're on your way to the right place or you need to start from the beginning again and look for something new.
Would you say that this is a style that's applicable to only larger spaces, or could it be brought down to more compact apartments?
Absolutely. There's no style that's necessarily for one place. You can apply it across the board, and it doesn't have to be intense in each environment. You can have a bit of a less invasive form of that style to use.
I think Emma summed it up really well. I mean, in a mansion you could use smaller patterns. In a apartment vibe you could use a larger pattern. It really does also largely depend on the client also. So that really does drive a brief and a look and a feel to a space.
Stunning. And I mean, you've spoken about patterns, color. Are there specific places within a room that you would place each of these elements?
So scatter cushions, I think, are a great way to bring in some sort of patterning again. But then if you're a bit bolder, you could actually use this as a seat, you know. I mean, imagine a chair or a sofa or even an upholstered headboard could really go well in this. But then again, I constantly say this though, that it depends on the client, because some of your clientele is really bold and they say like splash it out, and then others are a bit afraid, so they'd say, okay, fine, so you know, maybe let's do this in a scatter cushion or something. Yeah.
And any eclectic no-nos?
I think that we'd be going against the idea of eclectic if we did say that, because it is really out there, it is adventurous, it's fun. So I think like putting a halt on it would go against that.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Emma's saying, that I mean, if you were to say, no, don't mix pink with orange, then I feel you're going against the grain. You have to be bold. It is a bold kind of statement. And if you're afraid, then don't go there.
No boundaries, be bold and have fun. I love it.
We've come to the end of this week's episode.